Sometimes grief doesn't show up as sadness. Sometimes it feels like heaviness, exhaustion, or feeling drained. You might feel like the life has just gone out of you and you have no way of concentrating or motivation. This is because, and what people don't realise, grief is in the body. Grief isn't just in your heart or in your head. It's in your whole nervous system. When we think of grief, we think of sadness usually, but actually it can affect your whole nervous system and put you into survival mode. It can affect your heart rate, your breathing, your energy level. So you could be in a really manic, stressed out, anxious state because you're grieving, or you could be in a very low, collapsed, energyless state. Grief isn't just emotional, it's biological. When something deeply painful happens, the body has the same response as it does to any other threat. There's a shock with grief, so we might have a stress response, where the heart starts beating faster, and the breathing gets shallower, and our energy goes up, and the stress hormones get introduced to the bloodstream. This we call a hyperaroused response. But as grief goes on, something different happens. The body starts to slow down, and the heart rate gets slower, and breathing might become very, very slow. Here is where your energy drops and your motivation drops, and you might feel hopeless. This we call a hypoarousal response, or a collapse response. What people often think of as depression is actually the nervous system trying to protect you from overwhelm. And grief doesn't just happen when someone dies. Of course, it is the most powerful version of grief, but we also experience all kinds of other losses. The end of a relationship, the relationships we never had, the childhood we never had, the versions of our life that we hoped would happen but never did, the dreams that never got realised. We experience all kinds of losses as human beings. Sometimes these losses aren't named as grief, but the body feels them the same way all the same. When the feelings around grief have nowhere to go, we still have to process those emotions somehow. And so we can start to look like we're having other emotions that we don't normally associate with grief, like anxiety and stress, or feeling disconnected. And some of us might turn to things outside of ourselves to help us cope with the feelings, like food, alcohol, scrolling, work, distraction, or relationships. These aren't because you're weak. Any of these behaviours are just a way to protect yourself from feelings that are difficult to manage. The people I often see in my work want to change something. Compulsive eating, endless scrolling, or chasing unavailable partners. What they often don't realise is that grief has been unprocessed underneath all of this. And when it's given time and space to move and to be acknowledged, those patterns can soften. Not because you forced them to change, but because the nervous system doesn't really need them to protect you anymore. Healing rarely begins when we force ourselves to change. It starts when we understand what our bodies have been going through and holding. When you start to grieve, gradually, slowly, gently, in manageable waves over time, those processes and behaviours start to soften. Your energy starts to return, and your nervous system starts to realise that it doesn't have to protect you so much anymore. So it starts to let go because it knows that you've got this, you can handle it. Gradually, what happens is those systems, those behaviours, those patterns start to soften and let go in response to compassion. Grief isn't a weakness or an inconvenience. It's one of the ways that we experience love. And it's the body's response to loss and change. If we allow that to flow through us, something really important happens. The nervous system starts to shift. because the body knows how to grieve, but it also knows how to heal. If this video meant something to you, you might find my other videos on emotional eating, nervous system regulation, or love addiction useful, because these experiences and these patterns come from the same place in the body.